Michigan is at USC this weekend. This game is going to be huge for the Big Ten standings, and I'll tell you what to look for on both sides. And I'm going to tell you about the Wolverines' special practice location ahead of this game. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, hit that free subscribe button down below if you're new. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And if you could share, follow, and like, that helps us out too. And did you know you can hype YouTube videos? If you do that, that'd be great too. So Michigan and USC, it's the second biggest game on the Big Ten slate this weekend. We'll have the players of the week, and we do have some big news ahead of the biggest game, Indiana and Oregon. And we have our power rankings 1 through 18. How far down does Penn State go? How far up does UCLA go? We'll talk about it all right here on this podcast. So let's jump into it. Michigan at USC on Saturday at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. This is another one of those pivotal games on the schedule that we like to talk about. Plus, kind of reminds me of my youth when Michigan would play USC in the Rose Bowl every once in a while. Not at the Coliseum, of course, but a few miles away at the Rose Bowl. But nevertheless, I'm done reminiscing. Let's look forward to this game here this weekend a little more. Michigan is trying to reclaim its spot within the upper tier of the Big Ten, and Penn State's 2 straight losses has opened the door for that as well. And USC is also trying to climb into that upper tier. And, you know, a win against the Wolverines will go a long way toward getting there. And, you know, as long as they're not too busy, USC looking ahead, hopefully this isn't a look ahead spot with them because they got a tough portion of the schedule right here. They can't look ahead of anybody, but they do have their big rivalry game with Notre Dame coming up the following week. So USC, let's start with them. They've been cruising, and they've been exciting, and they've been exciting to watch, exciting to their fan base with a lot of offensive prowess. Although we have the annual questions about Lincoln Riley's defense, and that's still a thing that we need to discuss. But, you know, they found themselves in trouble on the road against Illinois. Remember, they went into Illinois in their last game, and Illinois was reeling after that huge 53-point loss at Indiana. And Illinois got things rolling against the Trojans. Got up by a couple of scores in the fourth quarter. And then USC woke up, got back into the game, actually took the lead late, to their credit. But then they just watched Illinois regroup, put together a final drive, and kick a field goal with no time at the end of the game there. So that was a heartbreaker for the Trojans, the one they thought they had. And that was the first of like these 3 straight games that are pretty tough on their schedule. So it's important to note here, since they lost that Illinois game, I think that makes this home game against Michigan even more urgent because, you know, if they lose this one and then they suffer a loss at Notre Dame next week, which is possible, now you got 3 straight losses in a row in the middle of the season, and you're reeling a little bit. You have an unhappy fan base that's even more unhappy with Lincoln Riley, and you know how that's going to go. Now, I will point out that USC's game after Notre Dame is at Nebraska. So the good news is the Trojans get a bye week to get ready for the Huskers. The bad news is Nebraska's a good football team, but that's going to be the Huskers' blackout game under the lights, and that's going to be a tough atmosphere to play in. So after that, they get a little breather against Northwestern, and then they host Iowa, which can be tricky, but I think the fact that it is home will help. And then they head to Autzen Stadium. They got to take on Oregon still. So, and then there's the season finale against UCLA, and who knows what's going to happen. Even any given year, you don't know what's going to happen to that game. And then now what we just saw UCLA do last week to Penn State, who knows? Who knows? But my point here is some losses could start piling up in the L column there. And especially if they go through a 3-game skid here, already having lost to Illinois. What if they lose to Michigan? I think they probably are going to lose to Notre Dame. Sorry, Trojans fan. But they, at this point, it's going to be a lot of losses at the end of the season, and that's not going to be good for Lincoln Riley's future survival, if you know what I mean. So we're going to double down on the importance of the Michigan game here for USC. And meanwhile, this game's also important for Michigan too, because if they get a win against USC in this game, their schedule for the next month gets progressively easier each week for about the next 4 weeks. And they still have a tough game against Washington. I have a lot of respect for Washington. I tell you, I think they're a good football team. But that one's at home. Remember last year, Michigan had to go to Washington. This year, Washington comes to Michigan. Then it's at Michigan State. Again, Michigan should beat Michigan State, but that's one of those games you never know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to put that as an automatic dub. Then they, but again, that's the team they should beat. And then they're back home to take on an inferior Purdue team, followed by a date against Northwestern. You see what I mean by getting a little easier with each and every week. And by the way, that Northwestern game will be at Wrigley Field, so that's exciting. But then, Michigan wins all these games, well, they could really be on a roll before heading into their final 2 games against Maryland and, of course, at Ohio State or against Ohio State this year. That's at Maryland and then a home against Ohio State. So the Ohio State game speaks for itself. We know what that's all about. I do think the Maryland game could be interesting. I think it could be a tough game. And, Maryland, I think they match up well against the Wolverines. But the thing I'm excited about with that game is it's going to feature 2 freshman phenom quarterbacks going at it in the Big Ten. Bryce Underwood at Michigan and Malik Washington, who has actually won more Big Ten Freshman of the Week awards than Bryce Underwood. He is the real deal. And they both are like the same size, same age, and both highly recruited. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal quarterback matchup game. And Malik Washington actually seems to be a little bit ahead of Bryce Underwood in the passing game right now. If you haven't seen a Maryland game, you'll see soon enough. So for right now, though, I think Underwood can continue to go deeper into the Wolverines playbook each week. His stat lines continue to improve. USC comes into this game pretty solid at quarterback with Jaden Iamaleava. And he's been fantastic for the Trojans this season. He's completing 71% of his passes, almost 1,600 yards already, 11 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Guy takes care of the football. Mekhi Lemon is his favorite receiver, already has 35 catches this year and 5 touchdowns. For Underwood, have you noticed, Michigan fan? I think he and his 6'5" receiver, Donovan McCulley, has been they seem to be developing some chemistry the last few games. And I will say on the other side, though, that Michigan's wide receivers, they got a bad case of the drops lately. They really, really do. Passing or not, though, Michigan's going to rely on a heavy dose of Justice Haynes. He's averaging 7.7 yards per carry. He's got 8 touchdowns already, and he's capable of the home run, if you will. He's got 2 75-yard touchdowns this season already. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this game and the chess match and the ability of these 2 very good teams. One of them may look like a really good team to come out on top with this. So it is a big game. Got a side note for you Michigan fans. And if you haven't heard, former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh, obviously now with the Chargers, his Chargers are out of town. They're going to take on the Miami Dolphins. So he is allowing the Wolverines to use the Chargers' multi-million-dollar NFL practice facility ahead of the game when they arrive in Southern California for the big game. So this game is so big, we're going to go live after it here on Locked On Big Ten. You know we're here every day with multiple podcasts, and we're going to go live twice on Saturday. We're going to go live so I get your immediate reaction. You get my unfiltered reaction and opinion on these games. IU at Oregon. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. That game should end around 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. We'll go live with that one right after that game for immediate reaction. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll watch the Michigan game at USC, 7:30 kickoff Eastern time on NBC, 4:30 Pacific. So I think that game will end around 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. and we'll go live then too. Again, immediate reaction both ways in real time. We're looking forward to all of that. We'll love your comments on this Michigan USC game as well. Hit me up here. Plus, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below. And that way you'll never miss a single episode. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that helps us out as well. And don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com, number 10, where all of our podcasts go. You can go back and check out yesterday or the day before for a second listen after you're done with this one. But we also have links there to where you could buy Big Ten merchandise, Michigan shirts, hats, T-shirts, Oregon, Indiana, all that stuff right there. Links just in time for your Christmas shopping, all there with our podcast. So feel free to check that out at talkbig10.com. All right, I still have a lot to get to here. We do have an injury update regarding Indiana ahead of their Oregon game, the game against Oregon. We'll tell you about that. Plus, we have our players of the week we always like to highlight. And then our much-awaited power rankings, 1 through 18. Penn State going down, UCLA going up, everybody else, some movement in between. We got all that coming up here in just a minute as we continue on Locked On Big Ten. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety and style and performance, although they have all that, to deliver a driving experience that feels very alive in every single detail. They do have safety. They win awards for safety. They have, metallic accents and hand-stitched Napa leather, just keys to the details, just unbelievable. It just makes you feel more special getting behind the wheel and driving a Mazda. Just like players concentrate on the small details when they're getting ready for a big game, Mazda does the same thing when it's making you a car. All right? Mazda, move and be moved. You know where all your money is? Serious question. Monarch Money can help you figure out where your money is. People, like, you have an app here, or maybe a website here. You got to pull it all together. Your savings, your credit cards, your 401ks, your properties, investments. Pull it all together so you can see the big picture. That's why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one financial tool for you, personal financial tool. And it brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people like you with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. You can do it now. Also let you pull in your finances from your spouse or significant other. So it's all together. One big picture right there before your very eyes. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com as well. Got our power rankings coming up in just a little bit. But first, I have some news regarding the Indiana-Oregon game. Good news for the Hoosiers. All Big Ten corner and special teams guru Angelo Pons. He's going to be back in time for this big game at Autzen Stadium. Now, you remember he had a big blocked punt, scoop and score against Illinois a couple of weeks ago. He was a late surprise scratch from the Hoosiers game at Iowa the last time they played. Undisclosed injury. Don't know what it is. They do. He does. I don't. Nobody else does. The Hoosiers are coming off a bye week. That gave him an extra week to heal. He's 5'9", 173 pounds, very athletic. He's got 3 tackles for losses. He's got an interception in addition to the special teams block that he had that I mentioned. So he should be good. Curt Cignetti did say that defensive coordinator Brian Haynes had to make significant last-minute changes to the Hoosiers' game plan against Iowa due to Pond's sudden lack of availability. They had to play a lot more zone. As you know, that game went down to the wire. It was a very tough, low-scoring game. Regarding the upcoming game at Oregon, Curt Cignetti was asked to expand on his comments he made this spring on CBS, where he listed Oregon along with Ohio State and Texas and Notre Dame and Texas Tech as schools with unlimited resources for name, image, and likeness, and their rosters topping $40 million. Well, he was given the opportunity to expand on those comments, and he did not do so. He said he does not know what Oregon's resources are, and he only knows that they have really good players, and fused praise on Dan Lanning. Smart move. No bulletin board material there. That's right. Because remember, a couple weeks ago, Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy complained about how wealthy Oregon was with a $40 million roster, and woe is him. He only had a $7 million roster, and then he got blown out 69-3 to show you the difference between 40 million and 7 million, and then Gundy was fired shortly thereafter. On to the players of the week. We always like to highlight these. Can you take a wild guess who the offensive player of the week was in the Big Ten this week? Nico Iamaleava, quarterback at UCLA. No doubt about it. He accounted for 5 total touchdowns and 294 yards as UCLA upset then number 7, now unranked Penn State, 42-37. It was a single game career high for him in rushing yards and touchdowns, and tied the record for rushing touchdowns for the school by a quarterback. And he, of course, led UCLA to the program's first home win over a top 10 team since 2007. And the most points allowed and rushing yards, 269 by Penn State in a regular season game since 2022. He owned them. He absolutely owned them. That was a fantastic performance. Defensive player of the week. That's going to go to Deshaun Singleton from Nebraska. We highlighted him in our top 10 Big Ten observations. Nico, too, by the way. He led the Nebraska defense that produced 3 takeaways against Michigan State, including 2 interceptions by himself. Became the first Husker to record a pair of interceptions in a game since 2023, and added 6 tackles as they limited Michigan State to just 240 yards, including 84 rushing yards. The special teams player of the week for back-to-back weeks, by the way, David Olano, the kicker for Illinois. It was a perfect 5 for 5 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points to count for 19 points. And number 22, Illinois, won on the road at Purdue, 47-23. Most field goals in a game made by a Big Ten player this season, and he tied Illinois' record for the most field goals made in a game. And he is the second Illini kicker ever in the first since 1982 to make 5 field goals in a game. And as I mentioned, he was the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week just a week ago from his game against USC. And the Big Ten Freshman of the Week, Julian Sayin, quarterback at Ohio State, was 23 of 27 for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions in their 42-3 win over Minnesota. He found Jeremiah Smith for touchdown scores of 6 and 9 yards, and Carnell Tate found him all day long, including a 44-yard play. And he completed 14 of 17 passes at 237 yards and 2 scores in the first half as they built the 21-3 lead. And just incredible. And 21 point in the second half, he got better. He completed 9 of his 10 passes. By the way, this is a freshman. He's getting better each week. They're going deeper into their playbook each and every week, just throwing 300-yard games around left and right. And he leads the nation in completion percentage at over 80%. This is a freshman at a Big Ten school. He's third in efficiency at 196.99 and 8 touchdown passes with 13. By the way, he was the freshman of the week of the Big Ten back on September 8th, second award. Been incredible. He's really starting to light it up. Ryan Day's starting to trust him more as he is learning the offense, and he's good to go. And Ohio State looks pretty impressive. That's why they're the number 1 team in the country. All right, we always have features at the end of our podcast for you to enjoy. Mondays, we do our top 10 Big Ten observations. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets. Hit us up on Twitter or X at Talk Big Ten. Wednesdays, we power rank stuff. At this time of year, we power rank the standings as we see them, 1 through 18. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at the Big Ten Network and look ahead at their weekend schedule with Big Ten Classics and live action. And then we have our Pigskin Picks on Friday, where we go on the record. We're not afraid to do that. We call our winners and losers. But right now, it's the middle of the week. We'll do our power rankings. Where's your favorite team? How far did Penn State fall? How high did UCLA rise? All that coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions in our life, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. So don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player stat projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards. We'll say over 240 and more than 240, and Saquon Barkley more than one touchdown. And you put them all together, and boom, you're in the game. And quick payouts when you win. And you can download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. We always appreciate you each and every day, especially you everydayers. Thank you very much. All right, let's do this. We're going to put this on the screen. Our power rankings for the week, the official power rankings, right? We watch this stuff. Other people make polls. The AP poll, preseason poll, had Texas 1, Penn State 2. We're 5 weeks into the season, 6 weeks into the season. They're both gone. They're not even ranked. So here is your real official poll, just as the Big Ten goes with our power rankings. Put it on the screen if you're audio on Spotify or Apple. I'll stay on screen with you here. Let's take a look at these and how we go. I'll describe them for those on audio only. Just a list, a ranking 1 through 10. You've been here before. We're going to keep Ohio State at number 1. And, they're number 1 in scoring defense. They only gave up 3 points to Minnesota. Julian Sayin is really opening up the offense. Everything very exciting there. Ohio State staying put. So is Oregon. So is Indiana. Number 2, number 3. Oregon's got it rolling right now. They're coming off a bye after that nice whiteout win at Penn State. Knocked Penn State down a peg. Indiana also steady at number 3. Also coming off a bye after their win at Iowa. Getting ready to take on the Autzen Stadium crowd and Oregon. This is a big test. The Hoosiers already have a top 10 win in beating Illinois. They got a road win there at Iowa. These two teams are ready for each other. This is a big one. I made the statement earlier on a podcast here on Locked On Big Ten that I think the winner of this game, Oregon, Indiana, will indeed take on Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I think that's how this is going to play out. I really do. All right, and then looky here. I got Michigan creeping up a couple of spots to number 4. I got the win against Wisconsin. Michigan's not quite firing on all cylinders yet, but I see improvement each and every week. And this team will go as far as Bryce Underwood takes them as he continues to get better each and every week. Rounding out the top 5, I got Washington. That's where they were last week. Look, they go out to Maryland. They're sleepwalking in the first half, that cross-country flight, jet lag. I don't know what it was, but they were down 20-0 before they knew it hit them. And then they come back on the road, not only to score 24 unanswered points to take the lead and to win 24-20, but not give up any more points to Maryland along the way. And Maryland has shown the ability to score with their quarterback. And I give Washington a lot of credit here for getting that win. They stay at number 5. Illinois, I'm going to move them up to Illinois, bouncing all over the place. Had to knock them down several pegs after they lost to Indiana. Had to move them up a little last week after they beat USC. Going to move them up another point here with their win over Purdue. I got them settling in at number 6. At number 7, USC coming up a bye and that win against Michigan State, and then they lose at Illinois. But I do have them moved up 1 here. I'm just kind of juggling other people around. And look, I think they're poised to rise here if they can get it together on both sides of the ball, maybe crack into that top 4. That's their goal. They want to be one of those playoff teams. And I do think the Big Ten gets 4 teams in the playoffs. Penn State, here's our biggest loser of the week. Tell me if you think I moved them down enough. Look, they got bounced out of the top 25 with the AP poll. Here in our poll, I dropped them from 4 to 8. 4 spaces down. What do you think? Because then you got to ask, all right, the teams around them, Nebraska, Iowa, Maryland, are they better than those teams? Yeah, that's how I kind of look at this. I got them at number 8. Nebraska moved up 1 after they beat Michigan State last week. They were 10. They move up to 9. I got Iowa up one into the top 10. Mainly they got maneuvered around other teams moving up and down. They got bumped up one. Mark Gronowski, up until that point, up until he hurt his knee, he was really improving. And we'll see what's going on with him the rest of the way. Maryland dropping them 2. Look, they were wrong. They never trailed in any of their games, and then that includes the 20-0 lead against Washington. And then all of a sudden, they lost the lead for the first time all year. They lost the game. I got to knock them down 2 points here, down to a number 11. Michigan State, I got a number 12. They had the loss to Nebraska. I thought that was a big measuring stick game, so that told me they're not there yet. Got to move the screen over, by the way, since we're outside the top 10. Maryland 11, Michigan State 12. I've got Minnesota sitting at number 13. That's where they were last week. I'm not going to beat them up too much more than where they already were, only scoring 3 points against Ohio State. Frankly, Ohio State only gives up about 5 points a game, so they were pretty close to the average. UCLA, I'm going to move them up. I had them at the bottom. I had them at 18 all season long. They never led in any of their 4 games. They lost all 4 games. They fired their coach. As I move Penn State down 4, I'm going to move UCLA up 4 with that huge win. There's a lot of buzz around this program. Bruins fans, check in. I haven't heard from you in a while. Do you think I didn't move them up enough? Let me know. Think they should be higher up? We got Rutgers sitting at number 15. They just dropped 1. They had a bye, and their defense has been letting them down. I'd like to see them move up a little more. Northwestern, I moved up 1 to 16. I think this team is improving. I really do. Now, in addition to winning games, they need a big win. We'll see. I got Purdue sitting at number 17. I dropped them 2 after the loss to Illinois. And then Wisconsin, I dropped all the way down 2 more spots to number 18. Yeah, Wisconsin at the bottom. That's a sobering look for them. I think they're broken right now. And look, I mean, so they came off of a loss to Michigan. A lot of teams lose to Michigan, but I don't like what I'm seeing with Wisconsin right now. Am I too harsh? Hit me up on the comments with that regarding Wisconsin and Luke Fickell. By the way, we did a podcast on Luke Fickell and his game management skills against Michigan in yesterday's podcast. Go back and check it out for a second. Listen after you're done with this one, and you can get caught up with that as well. So there we have it. How we do? Grade me out. I always like to hear. Don't forget, we're here every day with multiple podcasts, all 18 teams, with news and analysis of that news and opinion and previews and all that stuff. We're not afraid to give our opinion. But don't forget, we will go live on Saturday twice. It's rare that we do that. We've done it before, but it's rare. We'll go live after the Indiana-Oregon game for our immediate reaction, yours and mine. I get your live comments on this feed. And then after the Michigan USC game. So in the meantime, be sure to subscribe. That way you'll never miss a single episode. If you could share, follow, and like, that helps us out too. Because if you're a Big Ten fan and you're watching us, you probably are a Big Ten fan. I know you know other Big Ten people. Hit that share arrow. I had a texter in a comment section said, hey, I did just that. I got a coworker. I shared it with them. Let them know you're out there. We appreciate that. That's what makes this go. Thank you very much for doing that. All right. Also, I want to give another note here for you college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV, presenting the college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley, and all of our Locked On experts getting together, talking about the games that are coming up. The college football preview only Locked On can do. So catch the college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. That'll do it for us. It's a big week. 2 really big games in the Big Ten. The whole slate's really big. We're all over it here, and we can't wait for another weekend to come up. So can't wait for you to join us again tomorrow for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. See you next time.